Is it not behaving?
Well, the broadcast isn't showing up.
Really?
I don't know why. I mean, it's showing up on Foxcast, and I'm sure it's
Oh,
showing up.
thank you, Connie. I was just very good to do it, and I forgot that fast. Thank you.
That's okay.
So we're up, but it's not going through yet. Stream's not starting.
What?
Oh, Don's comment he put out a little earlier. Pierre's just firing off like he lives right here and knows everything.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's making comments, but nothing. It's like, man, he ain't even been to America. Much less know what's going on over here without watching the news feed. And 70% of that'll be inaccurate. So,
Yeah, so that's what's funny is you get all these guys from the other nations that are watching BBC
yeah.
and
CNN and
CNN.
ones like that and have no idea what's actually
No.
happening in America other than what they're being told through a narrative.
and
A narrative.
they take one block in a city and where there is some protesting going on, and they'll make it look like it's the whole city under siege.
Yeah, yeah, and the
And
whole
it's not.
United States, we're all under siege. And
Yeah, it's just crazy. But it's like I said in my last couple of meetings, it is angelic and it is changing America. Everyone says, is America going to be destroyed?
Yep.
It is being destroyed.
it is.
And destroyed just means changed.
That's it.
We're changing to a better humanity, a better community, a better everything. Things like that shouldn't happen, and we need to set up ways for it not to happen.
That's right.
And I will tell you this, I've been all over the world, and it happens everywhere.
It happens everywhere.
There's a whole lot of nations need to be changed.
Yep. But where we're at, it's not, I mean, it's pretty peaceful here. I just stayed off the phone all day yesterday, and it was the most peaceful day.
Yeah.
Don't pay attention to the news. Don't pay attention to nothing.
Well, if you go down into Dayton and get on the wrong block where they got it all posted off and they got their guards and shields and everything else, it'll look like all hell broke loose
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But it's the media.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That's all it is.
You're right.
Propaganda. They're good at it.
I was talking with the guy that was helping me out here, and he was African American, and he said to me, Don, this is the craziest stuff. He said, why do people act this way? Why is the media doing what it's doing? And I said, James, it's got to happen. I said, things need to change. There are some terrible things that happen in the world, and we're here. Our generation is here to make the world a greater humanity.
Mm-hmm.
We do that through taking care of humans, setting up rule of law, climate change. You just keep naming it. And I said, if you take a look all across the world, and I'm saying that I've been there. America's probably number one at every one of those things. We do more for the climate. We do more for humanity. We do more every time there's a catastrophe anywhere in the world. We do more than any other nation anywhere. But we still have a long way to go. And we are the front runners. We're the flagships, so we ought to be better than this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just listen to my last few messages. I don't think the broadcast is working today Facebook is. But they've got some kind of advertisement on the broadcast. Hopefully it'll come up for you, but it doesn't look like it's going to. So anybody that's on the broadcast, you might want to write in and tell them
I can't even connect. I don't know why. I'm not connecting at all.
not to the Facebook.
Not to internet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's just
Okay.
not logging in. Are you in, Daniel?
Yeah, so
Okay.
far.
Okay.
But just write them something and tell them it doesn't look like our broadcast is working today for some reason. I will get into that afterwards. It should have been up and running. So anyway, a lot going on in the world that we need to be watchful and thankful. You know, I put out a little something, and I was serious about it. I said the Russia hoax didn't work, and then the COVID-19 virus didn't work, and so now they're back to racism.
Every 4 years.
Yeah. And I think every one of those had some clarity to them. I think Russia was involved. I think the Clintons got them involved, and the DNC. And I think that it was a hoax to believe that Donald Trump was involved in it. He wasn't. I said that from the start, and they've never proved it. And the COVID-19, I really believe it happened, and I believe people have died, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, they have proliferated it and used it politically. And then right behind it comes this. And I was looking at the two pictures that I think I sent it to you guys last night on Messenger. The pictures of the guy that...
The police officer,
Yeah.
he distinctly looks like two different guys. Either that or he had some hair work done on his head or something.
The one guy looks 20 years younger.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that's so, but it looks like they got two different guys. One that did it and one is in jail for it.
Well, a lot of these news stations will do that. They'll put out pictures that are just
Yeah.
misinformation.
Yeah. So, did it come up?
Well, I was able to pull that up, but I can't put Facebook up for some reason.
I got Facebook up. We are up and running.
Up and running, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to be back this morning, and for all of those that are watching BBC and CNN and MSNBC and all those places that are making it look like America is under siege, it's not so. There's a few blocks in each city where they're upset with things, and rightfully so, but they shouldn't be destroying other people's lives and lands and everything else. If they want to protest, there is a peaceful way to protest.
Exactly.
So we are here, and everything is going just fine. And we are praying for all those that are caught up in a race war. And I wrote this down. I said, think about our last two sessions and the things that were said about mass movement. Mass movement among the dimensions, and how it is many times theophanies embodying themselves in mass movement for protest. Why does this happen a week after we went through all this? Because once something is revealed, once something is opened up, then it begins to rise up and proliferate itself. So I said many times it's theophanies embodying themselves in mass movement for protest. Look across America for the last 3 days at the millions storming the streets in mass protest of acclaimed racial separatist issues. And that's what they claim it is, racial separatism and white supremacy. Think about the core of this matter and ask yourself, Did we just see embodiment for a purpose? Even between these two that were filmed? Did they come here for the single purpose, theophany, to proliferate and rise up and bring something to the spotlight that's not pretty, so that we can humanitarianly take care of it, change things, make things better? Didn't I say, sitting here for the last couple of weeks, there's going to be a lot of trial and error? There's going to be a lot of things we don't like and it won't work right and we're going to have to change it. Didn't I say that America was going to be destroyed? Didn't I say that Egypt got destroyed, but it's still there? Many nations get destroyed. America got destroyed with civil war back in the 1800s, and Britain got destroyed in 1776. Destroyed just means changed. And we're changing. And we know that humanity takes care of itself. Think about the core of this matter and ask yourself, did we just see embodiment for a purpose between these two? Are we watching millions of embodiment across the vibrational world right now, shifting into this world to bring change? That's what it's about. Why is it happening immediately after being identified in our last two sessions and discussions? You know why it's happening. Because we see it now, we know it, and the purpose is going to come out. And it's going to change things. Don't you think it's not? And it may be that in the trial and error, we're going to see some people die we didn't want to see die. We're going to see some laws changed we didn't want to see changed. We're going to see some actions taken through whatever, across the world. National Guards, all kinds of different forces, because police brutality or using your authority, it happens everywhere. It happens in corporations, it happens in law enforcement, it happens in religion. If you think they don't use their authority, you just haven't read about Constantine. You haven't read about the march of Christianity across the world.
Right.
You haven't read how Christianity destroyed 100 million Native Americans. You haven't read a whole lot of, you don't realize that it goes on across all politics, all religions, all economy, all the human race, and it happens for change. And sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. And I think we're in a generation that has moved into Aquarius. We are watching these things happen. Our imagination imagines things better. So our imagination sets up the circumstances to make things better. We are the force that's moving behind all these things to make it better. And in the middle of all of it, there is still iniquity. Don't let this bother you too much, but there is still iniquity in the theophany that we have to deal with. There is iniquity in the human attribute of the theophany that we are working on constantly, because it's destroying the earth. It's making things worse for the body of the Spirit of the Lord. And so we have to work through those, and working through it comes many trials and tests until we get where we want to be. So don't get too shocked and don't get too afraid. It's just another phase in moving to the proper acclimated generation in the earth.
Every time there's a new freedom being unleashed, there will be some type of authority rise up and try to put the people back into bondage. And it's a cycle that you've seen for generations, and that's what's going on now.
That's right.
One phase is ended, a new freedom is coming out, and to do that, you have to have somebody rise up and say, no, you can't have freedom. And that's all it is. That's all it is.
That's right.
That's simple.
One person wrote me and he said, you're a Native American. It seems like you are a person who wants America to be destroyed for their racism, for their white supremacy, for all these things that they've done to your ancestry. And I said, yes, I do want America to be destroyed, but not in the manner that you think.
Right.
We're far past those days that happened 100 years ago. We're far past them. And there's no changing to go back to such a thing. Mm-hmm. And I have progressed enough in my mind and in my heart and in my understanding that, yes, I'm Native American, but I know we need to change things, but we can't change it to go back. Mm-hmm. We need to change things to make what we got a better place. Mm-hmm. And that's what this is about. And you've seen that in the Philippines. You've seen that in Ghana. You've seen political regimes take over that love the people. And you get acclimated to it and you think this is really nice, and then bang, here comes somebody in that begins to plunder the people, impoverish the people, take you backwards 20, 30 years. You've seen all that. You've seen it in almost every nation. We're watching Argentina, we're watching all these places, and we're seeing all the Cuban, you could just keep naming them. China. I mean, Mao Tse-tung, he murdered 50 million people in China in 4 years. In 4 years. Now, I mean, let's keep it real. We got a long way to go, and we're changing. Mm-hmm. These things are happening. What I see is a great awakening across the world through vibrational consciousness. Doors have been opened to move us to higher frequencies of attraction. Love divine intervention. Doors are opening to be able to move into that easier, securely, to be attracted to that. You know, there's the law of attraction that takes place. Doors are being opened to pull humanity into a more loving, a more sensitive race who will allow divine intervention. Divine intervention meaning we begin to think more spiritually. I'm not talking about some spirit flying down here and taking care of everything. I'm talking about us. We're the divine, and we are allowing divine intervention through our desires, through our prayers, through our wants, through our help, through changes that we're making. We're allowing that, and we have opened up the door of attraction to be able to pull humanity into that. A great awakening across the world through vibrational consciousness. Doors have been opened to move us to higher frequencies of attraction, love, and divine intervention. We're watching it take place. Now that the portal is here, I want to find every way to be a gentleman. If I were a lady, I'd want to find every way to be a lady, to be able to help, to teach people to step through into a new cycle of regeneration and understanding. Regeneration, just in when I'm talking about this regeneration, is a renewing of our mind and getting things set, getting things secure, getting things established. Imagination is a great thing, but sometimes you need to rest. Sometimes you need to let things settle down. Sometimes, because we're the ones that are moving this along. And imagination is what's taking place now. If you think imagination is not taking place, go back and listen to the speeches of Martin Luther King. In his imagination, I had a dream. You know what that is? That's imagination. Mm-hmm. I had a dream that we would be doing this and this and this. And that man, the Republican that he was, set up great things and forced Lyndon B. Johnson and many of those people into the civil rights laws that were passed. Those men were Jim Crow men. Mm-hmm. Those men were men that behind the scenes were slaughtering blacks, hanging African Americans, killing Hispanics, burying them in the sands of Louisiana swamps and everything else. They were horrible men. But Martin Luther King had an attraction about him, and he began to pull them to a higher level of consciousness. And his dream and the dream of William Branham and the dream of many of those are right here today. And we have our dreams that we're mixing in with it and bringing this imagination to a further consciousness, a higher consciousness, and it'll level out. Continue with the same desires. Continue with the same wants. Continue with those things in your heart, and continue to say to yourself, this is the route. This is the vision we want to take. What I saw in the last 6-7 years, all of these atrocities and all these things happening, what I saw and what I see now are angelic beings, theophany beings that rain down from heaven by the millions and come here for the purpose of spotlighting the indecencies of humanity and bringing them up and taking care of them and solving them for a better humanity, a better acclimated earth, a better way to live, and a better established people throughout the world. Right now, it's a whole lot about government. What I see, it's a great awakening. Now that the portal is here, I want to find a way to be a gentleman and help teach people to step through into a new cycle of regeneration and understanding. I'll look for ways to help others awaken to their purpose, to understand themselves. If you can't understand yourself, if you don't take the time to understand yourself, change yourself, and love yourself inwardly, you will never do much to help acclimate the earth to the changes that need to happen here in the outer governments, in the climate out there, in everything that's going on. You'll never find a way. You may try, but you'll damage as much as you help. But when you find what you are inside, find yourself and know who you are, great things can begin to happen. One person wrote and said, as long as these atrocities are taking place, there will always be a race war. And I wrote back and I said, look, the race war is nowhere but in you. Mm-hmm. That's where it's at. And when you change, you will be one more step and help change the world that much more. But as long as you have those thoughts, there's all kinds of issues going on, and don't think that it's going to be worse in the end than it was in the beginning. Remember the message I talked about, our moment in time, and I said the glory is greater in what remains than what was before. The Lord has always, we have always moved that cycle, and what remains afterwards is greater than what was before. So we're not headed down a bad path. We're not headed down a horrible place. We're not going somewhere that we don't want to go. We just need to realize, when you're in a jungle and you're using a machete and you're cutting a path so other people can go there, that's not easy. But once the path is made, people roll in by the hundreds of thousands, just keep rolling in. Once the path is made, let's make the path. Let's cut the path through the jungle, through all of the hatred, the malice, the envy, and strife of our iniquity. We all have it in us. It's very easy to go there if you're not paying attention, because it was born into you, and you need to change that. So let's do what we can to lay down the attributes of iniquity, which are hatred toward one another, race wars toward one another, anger, envy, malice, strife, slaughtering, inferiority, superiority, classes of people, rich and poor. You need to lay all that down in your mind and step into the earth, step into the climate with a level playing field, and look at every person and say they are there for a purpose. They're doing what they need to do. Things are changing, and they're changing for the better. Mm-hmm. So it's happening all around us. You yourself do as I'm doing. Look for ways to help others awaken to that purpose, to understand themselves. You know, the government, because of COVID-19, they sent out checks. And many of the people wrote back in and said, I don't need the check. Can we send it back? Can we tear it up? And the government said, no. Do something with it. So I took the check that they sent me and I put it back into the economy. I called some guys that were business guys that worked for me to do things, and I said, I need this and this and this done. And I put the money back out there because they hadn't had work. They hadn't had things to, that could happen for them, and they were in trouble. And so, he was telling me, he said, this is great. He said, this is the most I've worked in weeks. And he was very appreciative about it. So find ways to do what you can for one another.
Mm-hmm.
If we can do that, we'll stop worrying so much about where we're going. Are we going in the right direction? Absolutely, we're going in the right direction. And when you're sitting out there throughout the world and you're watching and you say to yourself, America is just a wreck. America is falling apart. I don't mean this to be sacrilegious, but America right now is stronger than it's been in almost every generation. Because people know, number one, they can speak up without being slaughtered and killed. What do you think would have happened? Look at 1963 and 4. What happened when they went through the streets of Selma? Shooting black people, spraying them with chemicals and fire hoses and everything else, and beating down men like Martin Luther King, and shooting Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy and John Kennedy. You think we haven't come further than that? We've come much further than that. You can speak up now. You can use the internet. You can step out and speak up and let your views be known. The media doesn't want you to. They're trying to stop a lot of that, but we've come a long way, and I think we're headed in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to keep our hearts there.
Mm-hmm.
And just because somebody's view doesn't agree with yours doesn't mean they have a bad view.
Mm-hmm.
It just means they have a different view.
Mm-hmm. Right.
A brother, Granger, he wrote this, talking about energy, and just think about the moment and what's going on. And he said, just thinking of energy. Number one, everything in the physical world is made out of atoms. Atoms are made out of energy. And energy is made out of consciousness. Energy comes out of consciousness, and your consciousness becomes more aware as you build your energy. Energy is made out of consciousness. If you understand that everything is energy, it doesn't matter whether it's that chair, that bird that just flew by, that tree, the people sitting here, the mic, the everything, the frequencies, the vibration, everything is made out of energy. If you understand that everything is energy, you can also understand that everything you think, believe, and feel consists of energy. So when you're thinking angry thoughts, you're sending waves throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the core. You're the core of this entire acclamation, this entire movement of the earth, this entire movement of government to one world. You are the core. You are the spiritual people who see it happening. You see the masses coming. You see the things happening in politics, religion, economics, all of these things, governments. You see all of this happening, and you know what it is. And when you throw out those feelings of anger, it goes. And people who don't see what's happening, those waves, it strikes them. It strikes them hard. So, us being the center core of all this energy, let's think about what we're thinking, what we're believing, what we're talking, our words. Let's think about what we're doing, because it's energy. It's energy all the time. Your attitude or focus vibrates. Have you ever watched a bird? And I watch them out here. It's amazing to watch them. When they're singing, their whole body's vibrating. It's sending vibrations out. And your actions, your focus, sends out vibration through the frequencies against whatever's out there. It butts up against it. It passes through it. It becomes, that thing that you're striking becomes what you're saying, what you're feeling, what you're thinking. Vibrating. Those vibrations affect the quantum fields that underlie, constitute, and determine the outcome of circumstances and physical matter. It's true. You, through your vibrations, are determining the outcomes of all of these things that are going on. You are determining it. Sometimes I make statements. You're human. You make a statement, you think, wow, I wish I hadn't said that. That might have sent out the wrong vibration. That might have sent out the wrong feeling and thought. And when I say something, there's hundreds of thousands across the world that trust in what I'm talking. And so let's be extremely thinking and paying attention to exactly the word, the message, the vibration, the ripple, all the things that you're sending out there. They're going to become and determine the physical matter and how it reacts and what it does. Some of us are those millions that mass moved into the earth over the last generation. What do you think the baby boom was about? What do you think the baby boom was about? Mass movement into the earth. A generation of people that populated the earth, I think they said like 40% faster than any other generation. It was a mass movement into the earth to hear the end time message of the church ages finishing up and going away, and to move into this new day, this new understanding and love divine. Mass movement into the earth so that it would catch the attention of people. Then he uses a scripture, Philippians 4:8. It's a great scripture. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there is any virtue or praise, think on these things. Don't think of it in a way of battle, because your vibration will go out there in war. Don't think of it in a way of hatred, because you'll feed hatred into the physical matter that's taking place. Think of it as it's pure, it's holy, it's lovely, it's angelic, it's what's going on around us. These are special people that are taking care of things and moving in the vibrational waves. It's honest, it's just, it's lovely, it's good report. And if there's any virtue or praise, think on that. And there is virtue and praise. We're moving into a better humanity. Think on that. There is virtue in what's taking place. It's becoming a better place and people will treat one another in a better way. The governments will make changes to make things better. It's going to happen. And it's been happening since the opening of the seals.
Mm-hmm.
The changes began to take place in the 40s after World War II. It moved into the opening of the seals. It moved through the hippie movement. It moved through Vietnam. It's come through all those Middle East wars. And the changes keep getting better and better, greater and greater. And now here we are. And we moved into exactly what William Branham said was needed. In case you don't know it, William Branham said a businessman needs to be voted in. Mm-hmm. And he will know how to handle things that are happening. Well, we got a businessman in there. What are you fussing for? Your prophet spoke words that put a man in the office. Don Parnell cried for these things in 2014 and 15. I didn't know who was going in. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew this. Gemini needed to show up. Gemini needed to be in the mix. Gemini thinking needed to be happening because Gemini is Benjamin, and Benjamin was the strong point that brought Reuben, which is Aquarius, and Jacob and all his brethren together with Joseph again and brought the Joseph ministry out when Benjamin and Reuben and Jacob got together. And what you have is the Aquarian age and the Gemini leadership to strengthen Reuben because Reuben was weak. That's what Jacob told Reuben. He was weak. And then we find Gemini coming in with that thinking, and we see the Joseph ministry wake up and begin to feed the whole world. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is not off course. Mm-hmm. Look at the two Geminis sitting in the highest office in the world. Donald Trump and Mike Pence. Geminis. Look at the air signs across the world. Putnam, Netanyahu, air signs across the world, everywhere. All the leaderships that are great leaderships that are influencing things. The Chinese leader, air sign, all of them. Because air is what's going on. This is a meeting in the air. And when this settles down and is finished up, we will have found many great systems to use. And we'll move into the Capricorn spirit of the age, and we will begin to set them up in the earth and have a great place to live. But there's always chaos before destruction. There always is. The earth went through terrible chaos throughout the universe to create itself.
Mm-hmm. And you have to understand what he's talking about when he talks about the Aquarian age. I just want to interject this real quick. The last age, the reason why we had the baby boom, to usher in the closing out of the church ages, there was a whole dispensation ending. That was a dispensation of what? Restoration. It was ending out all things restored. Right. This new area that we moved into is not about restoration. It's about regeneration. Right. It's a whole different aspect. We're not trying to bring something back or go back and restore something. We're trying to totally change the systems that we have used over the generations into a new system that applies to everyone, and everyone is included. Everyone. That's what the whole Aquarian age is about. Regeneration, not restoration. That was William Branham's message. That was his age. Understand, we're out of that. Think regeneration. That's what the Aquarian age is.
That's right. Regeneration, reconciliation.
Yes.
That's what this is about.
Yeah.
I wrote, the earth was created for theophany expression. Listen to this very carefully. If you'll see this, you'll be at rest. The earth was created for theophany expression, and all three expressions, there's three theophany expressions. All three expressions are one world working together to make the body, the earth, that's our body, an acceptable place to learn and expand. Okay? There's 3 theophany worlds. There's a theophany world that has not passed through the earth yet. There is theophany, every one of us, alive right here in the earth right now, wearing the earth. And then there is theophany. There's theophany that hadn't been here yet. There's theophany wearing the earth. And there is theophany that have passed on and they've moved into another form of living. All 3 of these worlds, according to Ephesians 1, have now come together. Mm-hmm. And we are all working together to make the earth the place to live. Uh-huh. The place to expand, the place to explore, the place to understand. It's the center point of the universe. The earth is. Someone said, no, it's not. It's the sun. No, it's not. It's the earth. Mm-hmm. Right now, the earth is the center point. The whole zodiac is wrapped around the earth. It's not wrapped around the sun. The spirit is using the earth for its body so it can wear expression and do the things it needs to do. The earth is the center point. Now, listen. The 3 expressions are those who have come and passed through the earth, those who are here in the earth, and those who have not yet experienced embodiment in the earth. We're all 3 now, the same world, working together. Before Ephesians 1, before the fullness of time, they were separate. Mm-hmm. You had to die in one to pass to the other. So here we are now. Many times, mass movement from the dimensions into expression is to protest to what is happening in the body of the earth. It's no different than if there's an iniquity in my body. If there's a virus, what does my body do? Mm-hmm. It begins to pull millions of white blood cells, which are the soldiers of the body, and it begins to destroy that virus. And it highlights it to the point that those white blood cells will die by the millions in order to make this body a better place to live. It's just a little microcosm of what's going on with this earth. Right now we are watching white blood cells, mass movement from the different areas into here because there is a sickness in the body. There's a sickness in the earth. And we're acclimating the earth. There's iniquity in that earth, in this earth, and we are taking care of the body of the Lord. And we may die by the thousands. And we may die by the millions. It happened before. Mm-hmm. 68 million on record that died trying to bring the church ages into a better humanity. Mm-hmm. Many times there's mass movements that happen like that to make the body of the earth a more acclimatable and a greater place and a more peaceful place to live in humanity. Like the Lord said, Moses, I've heard the cries and I have come down. How did he come down? I ask you that question. Oh, he was a spirit. He come floating down. He talked to Moses. He went out and he done this and he done that. And it was a spirit moving through Egypt. How did he come down? He came down in people. He dropped into the wombs of women and people were born a generation before, brought into mass movement. Israel began to prosper. Israel began to grow. Mass movement. Many babies being born. They even tried to kill babies. But the Lord stopped them from being able to do it. And babies after babies after babies were born and brought into the world for a mass movement out of Egypt into Israel. He came down into people to bring protest. How do you do that? He brought pharaohs that didn't know Joseph. Mm-hmm. He brought taskmasters who hated their own people. The taskmasters were Israel's people. He brought taskmasters who hated their own people and wanted authority so they could put their necks on somebody or put their knees on somebody's neck. They wanted authority so they could beat little children. They wanted authority so they could kill and throw people into the sand pits. They wanted authority to do all the things they could do, taskmasters among us. What were all of those? Angels sent from the cloud? Oh, Brother Parnell, yes, sent from the cloud to proliferate, spotlight, and highlight slavery and how horrible it is. So what happened? People came in protest. He came down in them from the dimensions to protest against slavery and impoverishment in all peoples. Egyptians that hated them, taskmasters that beat them, and all those who died under that brutality. They made a mass movement into expression to spotlight the issue and willingly did those things to defeat a humanitarian atrocity that was going on. Theophany's willing to come here for one reason, to be beat to death. Theophany's willing to come here for one reason, to beat people to death. Oh no, Brother Parn. Oh yes. There's only one spirit here. If you feel this anger, if you feel this racism flowing out of you, and it makes you angry in such a way that you're mad and you want something done that's not right, you need to wake up. You understand this message, and you are sending those vibrations throughout, and you are changing the physical matter of people, their thoughts, their minds, their walk, their everything. They were sent here to defeat slavery, atrocities, murders, everything. When you think about it, these are all wonderful people. But Brother Parnell, look at this bunch of, I won't even go into it. Look at these ones who are abusing children, molesting, doing all these things, doing horrible things. Listen to me. People don't die. People are not annihilated. Theophanies give themselves to the earth to make it a better place. And if that thing needs to be proliferated, then you'll see it raise up among you, around you, until the good, decent people that are here living in the earth say, there's got to be something done. It's our way of making humanity better. Do I like it? No, I hate it. I'm one of those people that want to see change. I don't hate the people. I don't want to kill the people. I don't want to do any of those things. But what I do want to do is see things changed so they never happen again. So humanity is a better place to live. When you think about it, these are all wonderful, special people from the cloud willing to sacrifice themselves. Made a choice to sacrifice themselves here in obscurity. Names never known. Thrown into ditches, swamps, heads cut off. Horrible things. And in doing all of these things, it proliferates and spotlights a horrible iniquity in humanity. And what do? We take the time, the love, and the faith to clean it up so it doesn't happen. Humanity takes care of itself. Now, for a few minutes, I won't keep you too awful long today, but for a few minutes, I'm going to speak of regeneration in a different manner this morning than what you have thought on it. When it talks about regeneration, you go over to Titus and Paul says, we're regenerated. And then in Romans, he talks about the renewal of the mind. And we think of regeneration as things that happen in us through our mind and through our bodies and through the physical matter and things like that. And that's all good. That's absolutely true. That is a part of regeneration. And I'm not trying to take that away from you. I just want to talk about it in a different way. Now that we have had our minds changed, now that we have renewed and regenerated ourselves, and we've modified our bodies to move after a new way of life, a new thing happening, and we've done all this for ourselves, what's our next step in regeneration? We need to recognize the awareness and the consciousness. If a person, let me start saying this. If a person comes from the theophany realm and drops into the earth who has never been here before, his regeneration or her regeneration is going to be renewing the mind from all of their education and all of the things that they picked up in the earth and all of the different things. They regenerate or renew the mind to move out of the religious, political, and governmental ways of things. We've done that. That's their purpose and core for being here, unless they move in mass movement to spotlight these things. Those that are here, we generate in our minds. Then there's a group of us in the world. All of them are right here. All of us are right here. There is a group who has been here. They have gone through their regeneration of the mind and all these things, and they have moved into their spirituality, and then they go to the next dimensional way after passing through, after coming through a group that's never been here and leaving that and coming to a group that's been here. They go to a group that is never been here, and now passed through it. And we're all three a world together now. And I'm going to speak of regeneration in a different manner this morning. Regeneration meaning that after we have come through a cycle here, there may be other cycles tied to your work wherein you didn't finish it here at the time for whatever reasons. It may be a longer cycle than you have age. You know, we die after so long because of disease and virus and old age and everything else. And the cycle that you set up may be a whole lot longer cycle than your time here the first time. So, regeneration, meaning that after we have come through a cycle here, there may be other cycles tied to your work wherein you will regenerate, or you will return in the earth and come back through to carry out or carry further your cycle that you were about. And you say, Brother Parnell, that's reincarnation. You say that can't be because you would be entering another body and it would be reincarnation. Or you would have to die again after you've been resurrected and went over, and then you come back and you have to die again. That can't be. Okay. Well, let's look at it like this. Did Lazarus resurrect from the dead? Mm-hmm. Did he die again?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He did. He didn't live forever. You can leave here, go into a theophany and get called back here or come back here to finish up things. He wasn't gone for 20 minutes. He was gone for 4 days, and Jesus had to call into that world and get him to come back and finish up what he needed to do here, and then he died again. I'm not getting outside the scripture, and I'm not going after reincarnation the way they teach it and you come back as a bug or a bee. But I'm telling you, we do return through this cycle to finish many things if that's what is needed, or if we feel that we need to help somebody in their cycle. Think about this. Moses and Elijah came in their bodies. They were here. Elijah was there in Ahab's day. He was fulfilling his purposes. 3.5 years without any rain. Called Israel back to their great worship of their God. And Elijah done a great thing. And Moses done. Then again, Moses took Israel, brought them out of slavery, moved them into the wilderness. He didn't get to finish his cycle. So what happened? Moses gets carried away. He goes out to the rock. Nobody even knows where his body was buried because it wasn't buried. He transformed and his body went back to the cosmos. And Moses comes back in Joshua to finish the trek into the promised land. Joshua, as I was with Moses, I'll be with you. And there he is finishing up everything that he was supposed to do in that day. And then Moses and Elijah go on. But I find them again. After they're on the other side, regeneration, I find them again standing on Mount Transfiguration, talking in their bodies to Peter, James, and John, and talking to Jesus. Regeneration. They came back. I don't know how long they were there. I don't know how long they talked. But Peter, James, and John said they did. And Luke wrote in the 9th chapter that they were talking about the decease of Jesus. They must have had in their head that Jesus couldn't die. He was this supernatural being. He was this big spoken word body, and he come virgin born, so he could never die. And we've got it made. Our leader will never die. And Moses and Elijah said, hey, look at us. Yeah, you can come here. You can die. Jesus will come back. That can happen. You can die and come back. Regeneration. You say it can't happen. Moses came in their body, came again. Elijah came in his body, came again. They came in the body of Jesus. You know that. Mm-hmm. All of us were in the body of Jesus. Is that reincarnation? When that body died, our body died. When that body went into the ground, our body was crucified. Our body went in the ground, our body died, and our body was resurrected. Get it out of your head that it's individual bodies. It's the earth. Jesus put the earth back in the ground, and then that quickening power raised it back up. It was our body. Mm-hmm. Our body is all the way through. That's why we can use it again and again and again. Mm-hmm. We're not changing bodies. Mm-hmm. We're using the same body. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Moses and Elijah, they were here recently. Mm-hmm. You say, how, Brother Parnell? Have you read your sixth seal? Brother Branham stood there in the pulpit in Jeffersonville, Indiana, and he cries out and says, who opened this sixth seal? Prophets, Moses and Elijah came to open these seals. Well, wake up, generation. Moses and Elijah embodied themselves into the prophet, William Branham, and continued their work in a cycle that was longer than their natural age. Mm-hmm. So they came back again and again and again. They came back just recently to set up a different government. Read Malachi 4. Moses and Elijah come here. And it's happening all around us. Moses and Joshua's ministry finished up a cycle. Look at Elijah. Elijah, the Spirit told him, go back and read it for yourself, Kings 17 through till the end of where Elijah is transformed. Elijah came, and the Holy Spirit, his Spirit, told him, get up, stop crying. You've cried long enough in this cave. Now listen to me. Go, and I want you to anoint Hazael as king over Syria. I want you to anoint Jehu as prophet, or as king over Israel. And I want you to anoint Elisha as the prophet in your stead. So here goes Elijah. He knows his commission. He knows where he's going. He knows he's got to anoint Hazael. He's going to anoint Jehu. He's going to anoint Elisha. And he runs into Elisha. And Elisha burns his oxen, burns the 12 oxen. He burns the Old Testament 12. He burns the New Testament 12. He says, I'm done with all these books and all these numbers and everything else. I'm moving into eternity. I'm going with Elijah. And he heads out and he follows him. And Elijah tries to get rid of him 2 or 3 times. Stay here in Gibeon. Stay here in this city. Stay here in that city. Not so, prophet. Where you go, I go. And Elisha stayed with him till it come right down to the end. And Elijah said, ask one thing from me. And Elisha said that the spirit that's on you would be on me in a double portion. What spirit was on him? You think the spirit was floating up and down on him? Elijah, I want you in me. You and me and you. And I want a double portion. You can come back. It's just the earth. You're not taking on a bunch of bodies. You're putting on earth to get a job done, to bring a purpose. Elijah, I want a double portion of you and me. And Elijah said, if you see me go, I will let you have exactly what you're asking for. And Elisha watched, crossed the Jordan with him. Elijah's theophany turned into a chariot of fire. Elijah stepped into it and cast back that spirit of Elijah, that theophany of Elijah, into Elisha. And Elisha came with his mantle back to the Jordan River and took that mantle off and said, where is the God of Elijah? Where is the spirit of Elijah? If it's in me, let it come forth. Boom. The Jordan opened up for him. And all of the prophets sat there and watched and said, oh my God, this Elijah is in Elisha. It's much simpler than we try to make it.
Yeah, so much is.
We can come back. We can move. We can do things. And Elisha went out. Now, what happened? Here's Elijah. He didn't anoint Hazael. He didn't anoint Jehu. He disobeyed the Spirit. No, he didn't. He moved into Elisha. And Elisha left from that river and went to Hazael and said, thus saith the Lord, you're going to be king over Syria. He said, not so, not so. He said, you're telling me I'm going to kill my king? Because Hazael wasn't king then. You're telling me I'm going to do something horrible to my king to become king of Syria? Elijah said, thus saith the Lord. And you know what that man did? The vibrational words of Elijah and Elisha upon him sent him home thinking about taking care of that king. Thinking about moving that king off the scene. And one night, go read your Bible. One night, Hizon went in and took a wet cloth and laid it over the king's mouth and killed him and took over Syria. Your words and the vibrations of what you're thinking will happen all around you. So Hazael is anointed king over Syria. And Elijah did what he was supposed to do in Elisha. But what about Jehu, Brother Parnell? They were all inside a room. They had Jehu inside the room. And generals were talking about, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? Ahab is dead. All these things are happening around us. We got Jezebel who's crazy. How are we going to handle this? What are we going to do? Boom, here comes Elijah, Elisha. Elijah in Elisha's body. Into the room. Takes a horn of oil. Throws it on Jehu. Says, thus saith the Lord, you're the king of Israel. And all the generals raised up and said, you're the man. And out he went. And he began to ride hard. Because he knew the first thing he was going to have to do is change Jezebel. And he was riding into Jezebel, and Jezebel sticks her head out the upstairs window of her palace and says, remember Simeon and so, Zimmerah, they came against me. You better fear. The Spirit will take care of you. Jehu said, the Spirit already took care of me. You eunuchs that are up there, cast that woman down. And they cast her down, and the dogs licked her blood, ate her body. Your vibrations are going out there. You are the Elisha ministry with the Elijah in your body right now. Doing many great things. Elijah and Elisha ministry. He returned. Moses and Elijah in WMB, in William Branham. Right there in the tabernacle in 1963, the month of March, Moses and Elijah were standing in the earth, opening those seals. Paul and William Branham. Listen to what William Branham says. He's talking in the seals. He said, I haven't preached anything Paul didn't preach. He said, Paul stepped out there in that first church age with the spirit of Elijah in him. Well, I thought Elijah wasn't supposed to come till Malachi 4. I thought Malachi 4 was going to be the Elijah, and he says Elijah's right in Paul. And I will tell you, the Elijah was in Irenaeus, Martin, Columba, Luther, Wesley, and Branham, and he's in you. Let's go further. He is in every one of us. The spirit of Elijah, the spirit of Moses, the spirit of William Branham, the spirit of Jeremiah, Hosea, Ezekiel, Isaiah, the spirit of Peter, James, and John. I in you and you in me. Where do you think the saints are living? What body do you think they have right now? They are living in the body of the earth. And they are using your body and your thinking and your understanding to help you along and to do the things that needed to be done in the earth to bring the earth to where it needs to come to. Paul and William Branham and Paul. William Branham and Don Parnell in 2002. When he came, go back and take the time to read that vision, that visitation in 2002. And right up front, you will hear me say, as I was laying there, I wrote it down. I wanted to get it down. As I was laying there, I was looking, my head on the rug, on the carpet. I had almost fainted, was going out, and I saw William Branham, that body, change into a pillar of fire, and I said he came right into me. I wrote it down because it happened. And William Branham came into me. What for? He had a second ride. He didn't finish his cycle. He finished up the church ages. But there was another cycle, and it took 40 years. And then the Joshua ministry, the Elisha ministry. It began to move in the earth and move us beyond the church ages, beyond the Third Testament, beyond all those things. And William Branham entered into me and brought the second ride, and it moved throughout the earth for years until we matured enough to understand that we had completed the second ride, that the tent ministry was completed, that all these things that were to be in the cycle of William Branham are done. You know, if anybody should have trusted that William Branham was going to come back in that physical body that he had on, it should have been me. I had men all around me in all these ministries telling me the tent ministry is going to happen. William Branham's going to come back. I had men that told me they had personal interviews individually with William Branham, and he told them they were going to be the truck drivers and the tent drivers of the tent ministry, and they would be driving his trucks. Told them that. But something in me said, I think he's already here. I think he's already moving. I think he has never left. He's just moving in us to do a second ride. And it happened because I could believe it. There was another man that believed the same thing. In New Zealand, all the way around the world, on the opposite side of the world. And our understanding of what was taking place was a law of attraction and portal, and it pulled us together through Brother Jerry Almazan in the Philippines. He pulled us together, and I got to meet Brother Mitta Edwardson. And there was another man who was seeing the exact same things we were seeing. He didn't know how to express it. He didn't know what to do with it, but he knew that there was a second ride that had to happen, and that was Ilario Saldana in India. And the craziest thing happened. The law of attraction pulled us together, and we met one another, and we started this great second ride, this ministry together. Ilario put up a website. Ilario done all these things. He began to put out all the notes. He began to put out all the everything that's went through, and Mitta Edwardson traveled with me and done those things and opened many things up. You say, oh, Brother Parnell, Mitta's not with you. I beg your pardon. Many of the things that I'm teaching you, Mitta and I talk about it before I come to this table and teach it. We're together. It's a movement that went across the earth. And he's got his own way of expressing it. I have never told him, you need to express it like I do. And he has never told me, you need to express it like I do. We know we're different. We know we're totally different, but we also know we are the second ride, and we completed it, and now we are love divine. And through that second ride, it built a base in the world. A base of people who had enough trust in this tripod of Ilario, Mitta, and Don, that when the moves began to happen and everything began to open up, we moved in a mass movement. And now there are hundreds of men. John Clotty, Dudu Pa. I could just keep naming the men across. Richie Love and Clement Alunga, and just
nation after nation, Philippines, Joe Gomez, Louis Villamore, just keep naming them, Felix Longho. Philippines, there's many, many, many of them. We're all across the world now. It's not a one-man movement. It has spread throughout the world. And many, many, many of the saints, many, many, many of those that have gone over, those wonderful people who may have died in mass movement, who may have proliferated things for us to be able to come to a better humanity, and now they're on the other side. They're regenerating themselves back into us. And they're helping us, and they're walking in us. And it's really true what Jesus said, I in you and you in me. These worlds have come together to be one. William Branham and Dom Parnell, Mita Edwardson, Ilario Saldana, the second ride, the breaking open and the bringing. And look at what happened to us. Go back and read some of the visions. I could say Noah in Dom. How can you say that? Wormwood, read your prophet's message. He said Wormwood was the angel that used Noah to destroy the earth with flood. That's what he said.
That's what he said.
And in the vision, this angel that came to me embodied himself in me and is me right now, me, this human person. He said, I'm the one who directed the destruction in the days of Noah. I'm the one who controls the weather. I'm the one who does these things. And now I will go before you and I will do the things that need to be done for it to take care of itself and be able to bring these things in the earth that need to be brought. And when I see, I've seen, I think on 4 occasions now, I've seen where typhoon was going to destroy, move into Legazpi, into that area where the core of everything is happening in the Philippines, and many great men in Manila and everywhere else. I've seen destruction headed their way, bowed my head and said, Lord, they do not need it. And the hurricane dissipated or went somewhere else or moved away and done things in other places. But Wormwood is moving among us. And I don't call him that. It's me. It's you. It's an understanding of who we are. You say, Brother Parnell, it's I and you and me. You have the same authority. Mm-hmm. I've come to that understanding. You have the same authority. You and I are on a level playing field. If I can do it, which I have done time and time again, you can do it. I'm nobody. I feel like I'm a sojourner, a wayfaring person. That, you know, I'm just so happy to be able to be a part with everybody. And I say what I see. I used to not say what I see. Got myself in enough trouble enough times that now I say what I see. It's happening all around us. You're the core. This is regeneration. This is those great ones, men and women returning back, embodying themselves to take the earth through its establishment and its process. And it is us. And we are all working together. Brother Parnell, I don't see how this can happen. Jesus come down to that point. He was, for lack of a better word, he was scared to death. He didn't know what to do. He knew the horrible things that was coming against him. And he took himself to the Garden of Gethsemane. And he got down there in great sweat as drops of blood coming off of him. And he was begging the Spirit in him, let's find another way. There's got to be another way. Let's find another way. Father, Spirit, I can't do this. Let's find another way. And you know what happened? He said angels came to him and ministered to him. Who do you think that was? We came into him and said, get your mind made up, Jesus. This is your purpose. This is what you're here for. This is what's got to happen. Come on. We were there on Mount Transfiguration with you, with Moses and Elijah. If the dimensions would have broke down, you'd have seen Alan there. You'd have seen Connie there. You'd have seen Dudu Pa there. You'd have seen Mitta there. We were all there on Mount Transfiguration. And Moses and Elijah talked to you, Jesus. Come on, we're down to the nitty-gritty now. They told you of your decease. You know what you're here for. Let's hold our heads up and let's go through this together. And we had a long talk, embodiment with Jesus, and brought him to the point that he stood up and went back to those disciples and was ready for the torture and the horrible things that were going to happen to him. It happens all the time. How many times have you been by yourself and that voice began to talk to you? And somebody visit you. I didn't see him, brother. Seeing him's got nothing to do with it. That voice begins to talk to you. And you know it's a stronger voice. It's a voice of many waters. And they're crying out, this is your purpose. This is where you're going. This is what needs to happen. Elijah, it got so bad with Elijah, he thought about suicide.
Mm-hmm.
No, he didn't, Brother Porter. Yes, he did. He went under that juniper tree and wept and cried and said, I'm the only one left. I don't know what to do. Just take me. Just take me. And an angel came and fed him with angel food. He said, eat, for your journey is great. And Elijah was so grieved, being chased all over by Jezebel, he laid back and went to sleep again. A little bit of trial and error will happen. And the angel shook him. He said, wake up, eat. And he ate the angel food a second time. And he woke up and he went on his journey for 40 days without eating again. Listen to me. We had a first ride. We went out there under the juniper tree, weeping and crying at the end of the ages. Total darkness everywhere. We don't know what to do or where to turn. The church ages didn't turn out like they should. That was the feeling of William Branham. I'm going out. I'm just going to be a guide out in Arizona or Montana or somewhere. I'm not preaching anymore. I'm leaving. He had a nervous breakdown. I don't know what to do. I'm under the juniper tree. People didn't listen to me. Nobody went and preached the new message. And I'm done. And an angel shook him a little bit. Said, eat on this food. And he ate on that food. And the people, Elijah, they continued to talk about graves and people getting up out of them and flying in rapture and everything else. Still asleep. And the angel shook him again. Said, hey, wake up. Eat a second time. And we went through our second ride together. And we went 40 days, 40 years. And bang, here come a new message. It's a great day. And Elijah and Elisha and Moses and Jesus and William Branham, and I could just keep naming them, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah, Ruth, Esther, Deborah, just keep naming them. Rachel, Rahab, Tamar, These great people are in us right now, taking us to a greater place, to a move of humanity into a greater government and a greater establishment. Don't be afraid. You watch all this media, you watch all these things happen. Fear not, it is I. Be not afraid. It is the Spirit, and we are moving in the right direction. This is regeneration. A regeneration that hasn't really been taught before, but it's what it is. One body, regenerating itself, bringing its spirit, its natures back into the earth to get things done. All of the worlds are one now. This is Ephesians, the fullness of time. Anything anybody wants to say? I hope it's been a help to you. I'm very sorry, but I don't think the broadcast worked. Facebook did work, and I will find out what's going on with the broadcast. So, we love you. Stay tuned. When I say that, I mean right here. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
You see what's going on. Don't get all tore up. Keep your vibrations in the right place and send the right message to take all of this chaos and make it a better place to live. Love bless. You want to do a song? Tell the people that are worried about this, listen to this message. Listen to this day, this session. Listen to the last three, especially. But this session, I wanted to take what's happening at this moment and help you understand it.
All around us, things are changing. Seasons come and seasons go. Very few things last forever. Deep within our hearts, we know. Forever friends, bound by love that time can't take away. Forever friends, caring in a special kind of way. Heart to heart and hand in hand, we will stand until the end. Love forever when you're forever friends, bound by love that time can't take away. Forever friends, caring in a special kind of way. Heart to heart and hand in hand,
Yes.
we will stand until the end. Love's forever when you're forever friends. Love's forever when you're forever friends.
Yes, forever friends. As we stand here, trusting and believing in the authority that we have been given, knowing that our vibration is the core of all these things happening, send out the vibration from your heart, from your words, change the physical matter to what you want and desire for a better humanity. Let's declare it, Let's believe that we're the Christ, and we are doing that right now.